Maturing in the coming-of-age experience is a profound and universally resonant concept. It has been woven into the tapestry of storytelling for generations. From the pages of timeless building drama novels to the captivating frames of modern cinema. And for that reason, the purest form of stories are always about people and talking cars.
Me, you, dinner.
What the? Ow! Ooh, please. Oh.
Coming-of-age movies entice you to watch a character grow and develop over a set period of time, with the end goal hopefully being, whoa, I really resonated with Ken! I guess I'm Knuff.
No. This isn't the answer.
In most cases, the framework is quite simple and formulaic. The main character goes through a singular dilemma, and by the end of the movie, they successfully overcome the obstacle, noticeably transforming throughout the process, finally fulfilling their character arc by the end of the film, so to speak.
Ken is me.
And yep, that's about it. The credits roll on by, and the story is all but over, and you leave the cinema thinking, did I really just watch Barbie all by myself? And to answer your question, yes, Timmy. Yes, you did.
All right.
But on the flip side, it doesn't always have to end there.
I'm going to jump. No. Oh, do a flip.
On rare occasions, you are embraced by the world of make-believe. You are seemingly teleported to faraway distant lands, jam-packed with emotionally charged life lessons. The film itself mirrors a parallel path with the audience's journey through life, traversing the curvatures of existence, guiding them as they mature alongside the main character. Cars, released in 2006, is one of the best animated movies ever made, period. Standing beside the likes of Kung Fu Panda, Shrek, Toy Story, and of course, B-Movie. It has everything you need in a heartfelt yet comedic animation with a profound message. The story is about the meteoric rise of a fast-talking rookie race car sensation who seeks legacy and greatness above anything else.
Thunder? What's he talking about thunder?
You know, because thunder always comes after lightning.
And for a vast majority of the allocated runtime, achieving victory in the Piston Cup seemed to be his main purpose. Lightning McQueen, as the film progresses, learns valuable life lessons such as perseverance and friendship by unmasking the superficial masquerade of glitz and glamour. Upon discovery, we see a clear shift in gear regarding his mentality and happiness, especially when he is around Sally, Doc, and his best friend Mater. But, all that aside, Lightning strives to be the very best, and for that reason, he works tirelessly. No pun intended. Mindset is everything. You can have talent, but without a good work ethic, talent is somewhat meaningless. However, when they work hand in hand, unimaginable dreams soon become a restored reality. Case in point, obsession beats talent. Every time. And for that reason, I believe Lightning is an amazing role model to look up to. For stories to have any sense of meaning, you need the audience to latch on to something. You need them to believe in the main character. Perfect examples being the display of passion and commitment captured by Luke Skywalker and the kindred spirit of Marty McFly. Lightning McQueen, much like them, is an inspiration, not because he's perfect, but because he's willing to learn from his mistakes. As well as being resilient in the face of adversity, that too. Just characteristics that would mesmerize a young and impressionable audience, granting them the motivation to emulate what they see on screen as they grow older.
Wait, did they just flash their...
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes. Anyways, Lightning's character evolution is the heartbeat for all three films. The original film enchantingly laid the groundwork. To say he was arrogant at first would most certainly be an understatement.
I shouldn't have to put up with this. I'm a precision instrument of speed and aerodynamics.
You hurt your what?
I'm a very famous race car.
Yeah, he's pretty obnoxious.
And remember, with a little rusties and an insane amount of luck, you too can look like me. Ka-chow.
Rude.
Crazy grandpa car. What an idiot.
Selfish.
I work solo mio.
Fine. Race for you to win.
Egotistical.
Yo, Chuck, what are you doing? You're blocking the camera. Everyone wants to see the bolt.
What?
Now back away.
Ah, that's it.
Careless.
I'm done. Look, I'm finished. Just say thank you and I'll be on my way. That's all you gotta say.
Condescending.
How will I ever find anyone else who knows how to fill me up with gas? Adios, Chuck.
Disrespectful.
Don't leave me here! I'm in hillbilly hell! My IQ's dropping by the second! I'm becoming one of them!
And honestly, the list goes on, and yet we still root for him despite all of these glaring flaws. Now, why is that? Well, writers like John Lasseter, Joe Ranft, and Jorgen Klubine, otherwise known as the Triple J's, what am I even saying right now? No one calls them that. The three amigos went out of their way to emphasize how stardom can negatively influence and corrupt one's character. And Lightning is a shining example.
Ka-chow.
Ow, ow, ow!
But no, not only that, Lightning is a multi-dimensional character. On the surface level, it's very easy to dislike him at first, and in fact, it's encouraged. I mean, he sure makes it easy for us. But alas, there's a scene in the opening of the film that is often forgotten about, and of course I'm talking about his conversation with Harv, his slimy, good-for-nothing agent. In this integral scene, they have a conversation over the phone, and it's not very hard to decipher what's going on. Lightning is clearly being used as a commercial asset as a means to profit.
And it is such an honor to be your agent that it almost hurts me to take 10% of your winnings and merchandising and ancillary rights in perpetuity anyway.
The relationship holds no substance whatsoever, and you can't help but feel at least a little bit sorry for Lightning.
What a race! Huh, champ? I didn't see it, but I heard you were great.
Thanks, Harv.
He has fame, money, and the world, really, at the palm of his hands. And yet he yearns for a friend. The writers effortlessly humanize him and make him relatable despite him being a literal car.
Friends. Yes, there's,
He is noticeably uncomfortable and anxious when asked to provide names for a guest list, to which he has none. And you see him fidget and look down noticeably with a sad expression, only to then be masked with a fake smile. A common human response triggered by uncomfortable situations. But even then, you get a glimpse of his hopeful spirit. He believes they are friends. In fact, he believes Harv to be his only friend. But Harv has no interest in him. After all, he only cares about
Money, money, money.
further justified by the fact that they are only ever seen talking over the phone with no video display, which in itself is a key detail when deconstructing the exploitation of Lightning McQueen.
How you doing, buddy?
My star client disappears off the face of the earth? How do you think I'm doing?
Harv, I can explain.
I'm doing great! You're everywhere, baby. Radio, TV, the papers. You can't buy this kind of publicity. What do you need me for? That's just a figure of speech, by the way. You signed a contract.
Allow me to explain. Within the Cars franchise, there are many instances where characters can be seen taking on a video call due to Lightning being away from home. Hey, the world isn't gonna save itself, am I right? Being able to see someone when conversing, intangible or not, adds depth and nuance to a conversation whilst also galvanizing an air of comfort and friendliness. The creative decision to alienate Harv as the odd one out creates a barrier of sorts, not only for Lightning, but we, the audience, also will have a tough time trusting him. The absence of a visual connection symbolizes a superficial relationship between the two, clearly emphasizing the financial component and disregarding any personal affiliation. This thought grants Lightning leverage as he can very easily be identified as a product or even a victim of his environment, but given the right circumstance, we can see him grow and mature. Yes, Cars is a kid-friendly, well, for the most part, adventure film with a core focus on racing, but underneath it all, it is well and truly a cautionary tale. I mean, think about it for a second. If Lightning never fell asleep, if Mac had simply retired, that would mean Lightning's detour to Radiator Springs and his journey of self-improvement would never have come to fruition, meaning he wouldn't have found his friends. He wouldn't have found a home, a place where he belonged. He would have remained unhappy, and you know what that means? It means he'd be one step closer to becoming Chick Hicks!
No. No! No, 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 no!
Ka-chika! Ka-chika! Yeah! Now that's what I'm talking about!
Now I'd consider that a fate far worse than death itself.
No!
But why else is Lightning McQueen so captivating? Well, Pixar's masterful undertaking of character creation lends a hand in that department. The process is a fundamental stepping stone that bridges the gap between our world and the immersive land of animation. And let me tell you something, attachment is a hell of a drug, and Pixar is one hell of a drug dealer. Hold on. What I mean is, they are the best at creating emotional, symbiotic links between the audience and their characters. I mean, just take Lightning, for example. His exterior paint job is a lavish yet striking red. Sweet job, Ramon. His body type is sleek and aerodynamic, radiating an aura of prestige and raw, uncontested power. Harmonizing with his competitive mindset. His expressive eyes, talking mouth, and the iconic number 95 sticker makes him easily recognizable and memorable. And marketable, even to the youngest of viewers. At first glance, he's quite loud. I mean, don't you think? His look oozes arrogance, almost as if his Pradas are at the cleaners, along with my screw you tire stickers. But Lightning's character design evolves in tandem with his changing ideals. Over the course of 3 films, his visual appearance notably softens and becomes more approachable. This transformation is a reflection of his inner growth, highlighting his journey from being an egotistical racer who once only cared about himself and the goal of accumulating trophies, to someone who now values helping others and doesn't care about accumulating trophies as much.
You just gave up the piston cup. You know that?
This grumpy old race car I know once told me something.
It's just an empty cup.
Now, we can't exactly talk about Cars and Lightning without addressing the elephant in the room. Cars 2.
Oh, hell no!
Unfortunately, like most of its kind, Cars 2 contracted sequelitis and is considered to be the black sheep of the trilogy. Now that being said, the way Finn McNissel leaps off the oil rig and turns to face the camera before falling into a headfirst dive is just full of the exaggerated swagger of a distinguished MI6 agent. The 007 espionage detour most definitely clashed in tone with the DNA of the franchise. It felt like a fever dream, and fans weren't exactly on board. Before you know it, history soon became legend. Legend became myth. And for 6 years, Cars faded away, until chance came. It ensnared a new bearer. I'm getting ahead of myself here. The new film, aptly named Cars 3, imagination at its finest, I know, brought back everything we loved about the first rendition. The film went straight to 5th gear from the very first minute to the last second and is constantly engaging throughout the entire runtime. As a spectator, you can't help but transcend back to your childhood in a way. Lightning extravagantly gliding past Chick Hicks over and over again just never seemed to get old. The mystery and majesty of King and Dinoco was enticing and was all made more inspirational after seeing Lightning turn down that deal of a lifetime, also that he could work alongside his friends and Rusty's. That intrinsic moment in itself inspired and implanted in me a life lesson beyond valuation.
Thank you, Mr. Tex, but these Rusty's guys over there gave me my big break. I'm gonna stick with them.
Lightning choosing Rusty's over Dinoco perfectly encapsulates his character growth. At the beginning of the film, he was embarrassed by them. His fame fostered a sense of superiority. He looked down upon his Rusty fans with pure disdain, and if we delve even deeper, his skewed perception created an ironic twist resembling his one-way relationship with Harv. His fans love and adore him unconditionally, but he failed to look past their rustiness, so to speak. His preoccupation with surface-level judgments blinded him to the genuine warmth and loyalty emanating within each and every one of them. It took a whole journey of self-discovery outside the glitzy confines of fame for Lightning to finally strip away the superficial lens through which he viewed his fans, and this was only really made possible because of the relationships he built and all the lessons he learned on his misadventure. Lightning now appreciates the authenticity of his fans, but also recognizes the richness that lies within every individual, regardless of their external imperfections. But we are not even close to being done there. To amplify the weight of his answer, it's important to note that throughout the film, Lightning has somewhat of an unhealthy obsession with Dinoco, and who can really blame him? Every time he falls asleep, we witness grand dreams filled with romanticism, and on the other side of the spectrum, we sometimes get treated to haunting nightmares where the Chick Hicks just get Chigged? Dinoco being prevalent in some capacity within each and every dream clearly sheds a light on his uncontrollable desires. But we're not just talking dreams. His life was centered around becoming Dinoco's next leading man, almost as if it was his destiny. So in the end, when the opportunity finally arises and he decides to stick with his friends, you can't help but feel happy for him. Lightning not only embraces his newfound family, but also manages to liberate himself from the shackles of an empty pursuit. This singular choice represents Lightning reshaping his values and his future.
You got a lot of stuff, kid.
Thanks, Doc.
Now, Doc and Lightning's relationship is quite possibly the most important component of the entire film. They both uplift each other in very intricate ways. Throughout Act 1 and partially Act 2, Doc is persistent in retaining a rather mysterious allure, but as Lightning continues to grow, we see Doc come out of his shell, and as a result, we learn about his tragic accident and how he was forced to give up racing. We feel his pain. There's a clear sense of realism here. Not everyone can attain their lifelong dreams, and the lucky few who do can lose it all in an instant. Events such as these can mentally and obviously physically break down people and cars. And for that reason, Doc struggles with faith. He finds it hard to trust others, especially race cars.
I know his type. Race car. It's the last thing this town needs.
After being shunned away by his so-called peers, his mind created a negative stigma surrounding our protagonist and his fellow kind. It can be interpreted as a self-defense mechanism of sorts. He won't allow himself to get hurt again, and for that reason, he's quite apprehensive about his past.
When I finally got put together, I went back expecting a big welcome. You know what they said? Your history.
Hey, look, Doc, I'm not them.
Oh, yeah?
No, I'm not.
When is the last time you cared about something except yourself, Hot Rod?
But over time, and with a lot of dedication, Lightning proves Doc to be wrong. He shows him firsthand that race cars can indeed be good cars. Doc is significantly older than Lightning, and with age comes wisdom, but in this instance, it demonstrates how people can learn from all walks of life, for it's unwise to extrapolate universal truths from isolated instances. Lightning gave Doc his faith back, and for that reason, when Lightning needed a mentor more than ever, Doc reciprocated and made sure he would be there for him. In the final race, when it mattered the most, Lightning began doubting himself, but in a moment of need, Doc became his crew chief. Now, to put this into perspective, the film goes out of its way to showcase Lightning's poor treatment of others in the opening of the film. He viewed himself as a one-man show. He saw no value in his team. He nonchalantly insulted his crew as if it's an everyday occurrence. He figured having a crew chief would be pointless. But now that he's in this state of peril, he begins to see the beauty in teamwork. Make no mistake, this is poetry in motion. So much is happening right now. Doc gave up in the distant past after being dismissed by the world of racing, but as a mentor, he feels responsible for what's going on right now. He doesn't want Lightning to go down the same path that he did. He wants Lightning to grow up and be better than him. This action not only accentuates his undying passion and love for the sport, but also gives us a glimpse of Doc being truly selfless, which also just links perfectly with the reception Doc received once everyone realized that they're in the presence of true greatness. It's a heartfelt moment where Doc is rewarded by feeling the impact he had on the world, a feeling he never felt before. This moment, this feeling of validation most certainly outweighed the years of solitude and grief he endured, and this was all made possible because of their special bond and what they learned dealing with each other.
I'm a race car.
Oh, is that right?
You drive like you fix roads. Lousy.
Have fun fishing, Mater.
Prior to the climactic showdown, Doc bestowed priceless knowledge to Lightning as their link grew stronger day by day with each practice session. The lessons themselves are ever present throughout the trilogy, sometimes accompanied with an occasional burn.
I don't mean to be rude here, Doc, but you probably go 0 to 60 in like, what, 3.5 years?
Red!
But it wasn't just about practicing for the sake of it. It was about mastering your craft. This is highlighted in Cars when we see Doc perform a stunning maneuver that can only be accomplished by thinking outside the box. This depiction of mastery was necessary to create a sense of tension in the latter end of the film. Lightning, having learned from Doc, executes the same maneuver to save himself, solidifying the importance of mentorship in the franchise. And for that reason, Lightning and his journey always felt cohesive in conjunction with learning about Doc's past by seamlessly blending that very dynamic into the present day, which conclusively had an astronomical effect in making the ending of Cars just perfect. That very component elevated the film drastically. Lightning choosing to help a beaten down king as opposed to just winning the race that once meant everything to him showcases such amazing character development in pure fashion. He saw Doc in King, and in that specific moment realized there is more to life than winning a stupid cup as he pushed King over the finish line. Seeing that moment transpire was uplifting, but there are many just like it, such as watching Lightning and Mater messing around having fun together scaring tractors, or watching Lightning hopelessly fall in love with Sally, which was yet another credible factor in his life that was missing prior to making his way to Radiator Springs.
Figure that all out on your own, did you?
And whilst on that topic, Cires has an abundance of unforgettable, iconic locations attached to a sincere echo of the past, Ornament Valley being one of them. The reason Sally chose to stay in Radiator Springs, and honestly, I can't blame her. I mean, we got Flo's V8 Cafe, Luigi's Casa della Tires, Ramon's House of Body Art, Fillmore's Taste Inn, Sarge's SUV Boot Camp, complete with Sarge's Surplus Hut, Radiator Springs Drive-In Theater, the climactic host of the final race of the LA International Speedway, Willie's Butte, or the canyon where Doc and Lightning train together and learn to tolerate each other, improving morale in the process, and of course, no list is complete without Route 66. These locations help establish the entire world. It makes each character and location feel genuine and lived in. Pixar takes great care in creating each unique world. There's a clear reason as to why we get to see each place of interest in nearly every installment, because as the audience, we embrace familiarity. It amplifies the story. In Cars 3 especially, when we were treated to 2 montages showcasing Doc and Lightning's training ground and taking it one step further by ending the film at that very same sentimental location, with the added touch of Lightning now bearing the same colorway and title of his great mentor and friend. Radiator Springs, beyond merely serving as a backdrop, plays a critical role in the story. The town undergoes a metamorphosis of sorts. It was once a quiet hamlet, only to evolve into a vibrant community. The transformation is emblematic of the interconnectivity between Lightning's evolution and the town's development. A symbiotic relationship with the townsfolk play a crucial role in sparking Lightning's transformative journey. Every character plays a vital role in positively changing Lightning. Mater becoming his best friend in essence taught him to not judge others based on appearances. Sally taught Lightning about the delight of living a simpler life and the significance of taking the scenic route. She helps him appreciate the beauty of Radiator Springs, resulting in him finally attaining a level of contentment beyond the fast-paced world of racing. Both Luigi and Guido teach Lightning about the value of teamwork and friendship. Through them, he found a deeper meaning in success. When you're at the top of the mountain, it can be a lonely place, but not when you have a team in Ramon, who taught Lightning all about self-expression and the importance of embracing one's individuality and to not cater to the status quo. Sarge taught Lightning about respect for veterans and history. As a military Jeep, Sarge has a strong sense of duty, imparting lessons about patriotism and service, so basically, with great power comes great responsibility. And Fillmore taught Lightning to always pass the blunt to the right. Every one of them lends a key hand in developing Lightning's character, so it should come with no surprise that he is absolutely enamored by Radiator Springs. And so, to thank everyone for their kindness and gratitude, he becomes a customer, and in doing so, grants every single one of them some enjoyment and purpose, really. I don't think I mentioned this before, but Radiator Springs was not the most popular of tourist attractions for some reason. This all highlights the maturing process, though. When we're all young and sometimes dumb, we think the world revolves around us, but as we grow older, we learn to appreciate all those who love us. Well, some of us do.
Come on, snap some pictures. I gotta go sign my deal with Dynaco. Kachika, say it with me. Kachika, kachika. What's wrong with everybody? Ow! Where's the happiness? Hey!
But no, we are still not done. Not yet, anyway. As previously mentioned, Lightning was obsessed with Dynaco, so much so that he did just about anything to escape hillbilly hell, just so that he could get to his final race in time. This proved to be a rather tough task, but over time and with a lot of patience, he began to live in the moment. Stopped having materialistic dreams and nightmares. He found tranquility in Radiator Springs. He found his home. The film takes this notion even further by honing in on Lightning's state of mind, which is suddenly transfixed by Radiator Springs and the climax of the film. For a brief moment, his career-defining race held no significance as he was overwhelmed with emotion, emphasizing his devout affection and love for the town that changed his entire life. So, why does all of that matter in relation to Cars 3? Because we don't talk about Cars 2. Well, I'm so glad you asked, dear viewer. Cars 3 essentially turns Lightning and his perfect world right upside down. See, animated movies typically have a light-hearted tone more often than not in feel, but Cars 3 is anything but. In terms of scope, there is an 11-year difference between the release of Cars and Cars 3. Now, depending on when you first watched the original, there's a high chance that you just may be an adult now, in which case you have the pleasure of watching a real underdog story with a unique twist vastly different to the film you watched over a decade ago. Watching Lightning learn and progress in his career is always a joy to see, but Cars 3 takes that notion and propels Lightning into unfamiliar territory. Introducing Jackson Storm, the poetic antithesis to Lightning McQueen, and the rise of a new electrical-oriented generation of racing, mechanically enhanced to perform perfectly on the racetrack. In response, Lightning, the hero we grew up with, exhibits an uncharacteristic crack in his otherwise unwavering, confident character. He finds himself grappling with an unsettling emotion, one that feels entirely unnatural to him, foreign even. He struggles with imposter syndrome. He finds it hard to accept that the spotlight is shifting away from him and his friends, who now begin to retire one by one as they can no longer compete. At first, it's challenging to determine if his struggles are rooted in ego, arrogance, or his inability to let go of the past, which in the end costs him terribly. At this point in time, things are really not looking too good for our boy in red. Lightning, ravaged by the emotion of inconsolable defeat, his unbreakable ambition hindered by the desolate canvas of which his mind has now become, left to simply collect dust. Only adding to the suspense-driven saga with one question in mind: will Lightning strike twice? Well, thanks to Sally, she manages to motivate and pump some gas into Lightning's deflated mentality, so to speak. He soon thereafter gets back on the road with Mac by his side, his ambition reignited with the unveiling of a state-of-the-art training facility, courtesy of Nathan Drake, fully equipped with a personal trainer named Cruz Ramirez, a passionate instructor who most definitely has the need for speed. EA, please don't sue me. Okay, let's assess these two components a little further, shall we? I think it's pivotal to credit the following line of dialogue.
Don't fear failure. Be afraid of not having the chance. You have the chance.
This quote can be recognized as the foundation of Cars 3 and the story it aims to tell, particularly in correspondence to Cruz Ramirez, and we'll get to her very shortly, I promise. Meanwhile, Sally aims to motivate the audience. Thomas A. Edison once poetically remarked, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Both citations conceptually aim to provide a positive twist for those wounded by an overwhelming amount of negative outcomes. Lightning, rusting away in Doc's old shed after his devastating loss, only to then gain a burst of courage, epitomizes that very sentiment. Cars 3 provides insightful life lessons to help the audience tackle tough challenges and situations. The second element I'd like to investigate further is how the film tangles with illusory power, more specifically surrounding the use of technology. In this ever-growing age of AI taking over jobs, this is something we all can relate to. But luckily for Lightning, he's got the power of this racing simulator by his side. But not just any old racing simulator. No, sir. He has the latest model, far superior to Jackson Storm's. But upon closer inspection, this invention is nothing but an ill-advised concoction harboring inaccessible expectations. Bars! A well-planted facade, if anything. The disoriented guise surrounding tech-enhancing capabilities is nothing but superficial, a false promise. Lightning trains on the simulator, and yet he struggles to keep up with Jackson, even in VR. Anyway, the film subtly challenges the notion that advanced technology alone guarantees success. It exposes the illusory nature of relying solely on technological enhancements as a shortcut to victory. This narrative choice is an observation on the broader theme of embracing the core values of skill, experience, and genuine effort over the illusion of power conferred by technology. By portraying Lightning's hands-on approach despite access to cutting-edge tools, the film suggests that true mastery in any field requires more than just the superficial allure of advanced gadgets. It demands dedication, learning from failures, and an authentic connection with one's craft. Cars 3 dismantles the illusion of technological omnipotence, urging the audience to look beyond the surface level and recognize the genuine substance that underlies true expertise and success. The uphill battle Lightning McQueen faces becomes a metaphor for the importance of mastering one's art through genuine experience and resilience. It can also be inferred as a form of social commentary. As I said before, we now live in a world where AI is more prevalent than ever before, and as a civilization, we have a clear focus on technological advancements for the future betterment of mankind. But such a mindset can very easily be contorted if not managed properly. I mean, dude, just watch The Terminator if you don't believe me. I'll be back! Oh my holy frick, I love that movie. Anyway, overutilizing technology certainly stems from over-reliance. It's quite easy to forget the human in humanity when artificial intelligence is improving at such an incomprehensible rate. Cars 3 is allegorically based on its depiction of society. The bustling world of sentient automobiles hauntingly mirrors the characteristics of mankind. The animated world hurtles itself into an era of advanced artificial intelligence with the inclusion of self-automated assistants, very much like Elon Musk's newly unveiled Grok AI. The dependency on automotive innovation is highlighted in every installment, from old-fashioned charm to sleek, cutting-edge models. It's definitely an abstract parallel when compared to our own societal transition, inviting viewers to reflect upon the accelerating fusion of humanity and technology, whilst also reminding us of the human spirit and what we can achieve with and without tech. But hey, let's dive back in and assess the relationship between Lightning and Jackson. The film then acutely progresses to pinpoint Lightning and his hell-bent mentality in wanting to defeat Jackson's storm. And in that dilapidated sense of revenge, we begin to see him lose focus, because deep down, he's really anxious at the thought of losing again, which in turn would cost him his entire career, as he confidently agreed to retire if he didn't retain victory.
If you don't win at Florida, you'll retire?
Look, if I don't win, I'll sell all the mud flaps you got.
Yeah, so I think this goes without saying, but narratively speaking, this definitely amplifies the stakes, as failure to recapture his glory would mean Lightning ending up like his former coach. This very question feels somewhat abnormal for him, and for us, I mean, not for him, well, for him too, but listen, as kids, we watched Lightning win race after race. He was the main protagonist, cleaning out the competition with ease. The dude felt unbeatable, untouchable even. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. He was a really good racer. But I'd say maturity is watching Cars 3 as a teenager or young adult and understanding that everyone has their time in the limelight before having to pass the torch on. Be it because of age, health conditions, or in some rare instances, your tires beginning to get rusty. Understanding this conceptually, in essence, gives you the power of the here and now. Because time is invaluable, but it's also ticking. Lightning McQueen is a perfect reminder to push yourself to the very limit of your capabilities, because you may never know when your time is up, and it would be a tragedy to live life regretfully. And yet again, we are also sternly reminded of the commercialization of Lightning McQueen. Much like Harv, Nathan Drake views Lightning as a means to an end. He masquerades as a fan, but it's a very thin disguise. This ties in idealistically with our new character. Cruz grew up idolizing Lightning. She watched every race dreaming that one day, maybe she could be just like him.
I used to watch you on TV, flying through the air. You seemed so fearless.
Though her dream was cut brutally short as she lacked the confidence needed to compete.
That's what my family used to say. Dream small or not at all.
From the very beginning, her family set limitations upon her, which progressively worsened to the point where she began doubting herself. The Cars franchise constantly embraces this principle of faith in yourself. Cruz is constantly dismissed as a nobody, even by Lightning himself.
Who's the racer? No. She's not a racer. She's a trainer.
If you were a racer, you'd know what I'm talking about, but you're not.
James Allen once stated, "You are today where your thoughts have brought you. You will be tomorrow where your thoughts take you." And similarly, Lao Tzu transcribed, "Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character, for it becomes your destiny." These two sayings embody the necessity of treating oneself with kindness. Change your thoughts and you change your world. You hold the pen to your own story, and sometimes all it takes is a positive outlook to swing the tides of destiny. The stage is now set. Two characters, one facing an identity crisis and the other failing to meet her potential. The two begin training immediately with absolutely zero success. Partially due to Lightning's failure to understand Cruz and her way of teaching, which, though problematic at first, comes in a great effect in the third act of the film. His unwavering need to be the best clouded his vision until he began to focus on the talent that she possesses, with, of course, the help of Smokey, who happens to be Doc's former mentor. The moment of clarity is projected in what I believe to be the best scene in the film, which happened to be a conversation between Lightning and Smokey, where they discuss Doc and what really made him happy. Before this scene, Doc as a character, though tremendously loved and respected, was captivated by a shroud of mystery. The countless stories of the fabulous Hudson Hornet from secondary characters overshadow the haunting crash that tragically ended his entire career, all prematurely. We are made to believe that his career in racing was definitely his most uplifting achievement, but upon watching the scene, that very thought quickly vanished far into obscurity when we realized that he found true happiness in mentoring Lightning McQueen, effectively conveyed by showcasing Doc's Hall of Fame, meticulously decorated with pictures of Lightning winning trophy after trophy, newspaper headlines retelling historic victories.
I wish I could have seen him like that.
Like what?
So happy.
Lightning initially built a false narrative in his mind. Gaining Doc's acceptance in the first film was a triumphant moment, so much so that it made him look up to him more than anyone else. Doc can be identified as kind of a father figure, and for most children, their first hero is usually their dad for a multitude of reasons, and so it makes sense for Lightning to brand Doc as the greatest race car to have ever lived. This warrants his misconstrued belief that racing is all that he ever truly cared about, when in truth, he couldn't be more wrong. The message of friendship is made all the more prevalent when the camera is fixated on the two standing, parked? 5 decades of seclusion washed away by a connection that changed his life for the better.
I'd loved racing, but coaching you, I'd never seen the old grump so happy.
And this scene is great. The next line of dialogue effortlessly steers the narrative onto the right side of the road.
Hud saw something in you that you don't even see in yourself.
Giving himself the proposition of defeat, carrying that unnecessary weight, gave Lightning the awareness that, he was becoming an imposter of himself. He became self-centered, falling back to his old ways, thus unknowingly hindering his drive for success to a screeching stop. Blinded by rage, he lost sight of what really matters. Expectations can make or break you. Life can be an unrelenting cycle if you choose to make things harder than they have to be. A systematic lapse in judgment injected by stress is all it takes for you to look in the mirror and to not know who stands before you.
Still don't see him.
He's right in front of you. It's Lightning McQueen.
He's obviously an imposter.
Seeing Lightning struggle with his identity is a relatable concept, even more so if you grew up watching him and have an intrinsic bond with him. For many, Cars 3 was our first introduction to what a midlife crisis actually is. Watching a childhood hero be down in the dumps like this, and that's putting it mildly, is pretty soul-crushing. The exploration of hopelessness and doubt is very adult-centric. The evolution of the franchise is centered around growing up and having to face the trials and tribulations of adulthood, transforming a once lighthearted adventure story into a mature examination of life itself and the daunting aspects of transitional phases, poetically reflecting upon the growth of its original young viewers as they head into adulthood and are left to deal with the concept of self-discovery as they take on more and more mature obstacles. But to add more fuel to the fire, within the Cars franchise, there is a recurring theme of the new kid in town. We see Doc being overtaken by a rookie the same way we saw Chick Hicks and King having issues competing with rookie Lightning, and now in present day, veteran Lightning and his generation of race cars are just left in the dust. It is illustrated as a vicious cycle, a mechanical circle of life. The message of the film is relatively cohesive. My interpretation is to find solace in accepting your given situation, because sometimes fighting back in the end will only lead to further disappointment, emphasized through Lightning and his disheartened mindset after losing consecutively. Acceptance can instantaneously convert momentary happiness into long-term happiness. From feeling happy to actually being happy, there is a significant difference, and Cars 3 aimed to outline that given fact. In Lightning's case, the decision that he has to now face is accepting and understanding the sad truth that he simply can't compete at the highest division anymore, with the expectation of winning every time, especially in such a competitive climate. The law of diminishing returns stands out to me in this context. Lightning, much like any other character, has limitations. In this case, a speed limitation. There is a certain barrier of momentum that he can't attain or surpass for him to even stand a chance at beating Jackson Storm, which is reflected quite realistically in his win percentage and to further stack the odds against him. Jackson happened to also set the fastest recorded lap time in the Piston Cup and can produce a top speed of 214 miles per hour, a tremendous output in comparison to Lightning's commendable 198. Jackson was carefully optimized to live and breathe on the racetrack. Training to beat him would amount to nothing. Lightning was fighting a losing battle from the very beginning, and he just didn't know it or refused to see it. The inclination of wanting to win under a disadvantageous circumstance can somehow be deceptive in making you think that he wasted time and energy for no reason. Lightning certainly thought so.
Wasted my whole day.
I wouldn't say that.
But in all actuality, learning to lose in the process can make everything worthwhile. This was made tantalizingly apparent when Cruz effortlessly overtook Lightning and beat him in training. Prior to this happening, the film throws a curveball. We see Lightning train vigorously to the point that his electronic wrap tears away, revealing his original paint job. We recklessly begin to believe that Lightning is growing in confidence, but not only that, we started to believe in the aforementioned comeback of the year story. But everything is stripped away from her. His confidence shattered.
Speed. I am speed.
Yeah, so in the not-so-distant past, Lightning was never afraid to enunciate his motto with excitement because he believed in every word that was spoken. But now he can't even muster the courage to finish his very words of encouragement. This relays a message of him being spiritually broken. He is a shell of his former self. This is ground zero. The outcome of their race can be identified as demoralizing at first, but Pixar has a way of eloquently cultivating a positive revelation from a perilous situation.
Hud saw something in you that you don't even see in yourself.
In absolute defeat, he finally now understood how Doc felt. This was depicted beautifully when Lightning gave Cruz her chance to race at the detriment of his own career. Win or lose, all that mattered in that moment was giving Cruz the chance to become what she was meant to be. As promised, the film circles back to don't fear failure, fear not having the chance. Only this time, it focuses primarily on Cruz. Lightning overhears her being dismissed, and in that moment understood the silver lining to his story. His final transformation corresponds with him becoming a spitting image of Doc without even knowing it. He made sure to pick her up from the pits of despair because he resonates with her. Lightning believed in her, even when she didn't believe in herself, and sometimes that's all it takes for someone to fulfill their entire potential.
Kid's got a lot of stuff. Hey, Doc?
In the penultimate lap, Cruz can be seen getting nervous after a really good start. This is when all the training comes into play as we see Lightning integrate into a more coach-like figure, providing tailor-made information to overcome the anxiety she's going through to make her feel comfortable and relax out there on the track, removing any and all apprehension that once plagued her mind, thus enabling her to flourish. We all find beauty and wonder in fulfilling dreams. Cruz always dreamt of winning the elusive Piston Cup. But first and foremost, she was a fan of Lightning McQueen. He inspired her. Dreams and aspirations are the constellations that guide us through the darkest of nights. They ignite our spirits, inspire us to take that first step, and remind us to push through the pain. In the realm of dreams, limitations dissolve, and the human, or in this case, car's spirit, can do remarkable things when you have faith in both yourself and others. Lightning pays tribute to that very idea of having faith in yourself and others by making good of a relatively uneasy situation. Yeah, he may no longer be.
I'm faster than fast, quicker than quick. I am lightning.
But he's still Lightning McQueen, and they have a race to win. The final challenge Cruz must face is none other than pesky ol', who could it be else, Jackson Storm, the embodiment of her past, a living manifestation of doubts and failures, success that can never be usurped or attained. Jackson represents everyone who declared the thought that she could never be a racer, that she isn't good enough, that she doesn't belong. In all his arrogance and simple-mindedness, he tries to break her mentality, but Cruz teaches the audience to stay strong when dealing with both hardship misfortune in Jackson Storm. Cruz is a beacon of hope here. She too envelops the idea of overcoming setbacks through sheer will and bravery, and as a reward, she finally gains that admiration and acceptance from her peers. A sense of fulfillment, a feeling she chased all her life to attain, which beautifully orchestrates a satisfying resolution to her journey. In the most epic way possible, by the way. Cruz dethroning Jackson Storm beautifully elevated the idea and sentiment of maturing with your audience. Lightning McQueen's chapter may have come to an end, but in the same breath, it's a sign for new beginnings. Lightning, though, once young and ambitious rookie, now happily passes on the torch to a new generation, showcasing firsthand that change doesn't always have to be scary. It can be embraced. His attitude, once driven solely by personal glory and success, now seamlessly transformed to a broader and much more resonating perspective of wanting to help others in the pursuit of attaining their lifelong dreams. This transition embodies the growth and maturity that the adolescent audience has experienced themselves alongside the franchise, minus Cars 2. We all grow up wanting to be successful, but in the end, we're reminded to value our family and friends and just togetherness as a whole as well. The paradigm shift in his character evokes a truly special message, which most coming-of-age movies and stories fail to live up to, and it's easy to see why when compared to the transformative charm of the Cars franchise minus Cars 2. Okay, well, you know what? Maybe a little bit of Cars 2.
He's a little excited, isn't he?
Mater?
But wait,
Lightning McQueen's trilogy-spanning character arc was tailor-made for anyone seeking inspiration. And if you ask me, it was a pretty fun ride. To undersell Cars as a story made only for kids could almost be considered a crime against humanity. I mean, after all, it's not an everyday occurrence when you get to jump into the driver's seat and are whisked away into uncharted lands where the lead character holds you by the hand and introduces an ever-growing world through their eyes. And sure enough, as the characters and world evolve, so do you. Hey, my man! If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe for more spectacular videos. Thanks for watching!